The PlayStation Store continues to deliver, offering exclusive downloadable titles that appear to fly in the face of mass appeal, opting instead for a more art house approach. It is possibly my most favourite aspect of the entirety of Sony's platform. From the early days of PSN and Flow, right up to the recent journey, at first glance style lords it over substance. Take a step into each, however, and you'll find that it is nowhere near the case, as each one hides a very different but equally compelling offering going beyond mere visuals. Latest in the series is Unfinished Swan, a collaboration between Giant Sparrow and Sony's prominent Santa Monica studio. And what is most telling about Unfinished Swan is the option on its title screen, the one marked Toys. It sums up a lot about this quirky first-person adventure. A lot of the early coverage on this very striking game focused on the initial steps of your journey. You take the role of Monroe, a young boy who has grown up in an orphanage. The only reminder of his parents is his mother's silver paintbrush and a solitary, incomplete painting of a swan. One night he wakes up to find not only that the swan is gone, but a mysterious door has appeared in his room. Not one for letting avian abductions go uninvestigated, he picks up his brush and heads through the door. On the other side, it's white. Not the white of a bright day, or of a polar bear convention, but the kind of white where there are absolutely no shadows or edges. He is lost as if he were blind. Or at least he would be, if it weren't for his brush. A flick of its bristles, and you throw a black ball of paint that splatters on the background, breaking the sterility of the environment. A few more flicks, and you find that you're not on an endlessly blank plain, but surrounded by walls. Following the now evident corridor, you discover banisters, carts and trees. There is a whole world to explore, and the only way you will do so is through your paintbrush. It's an amazing sense of exploration, one I've not encountered in any other game. You don't as much roam about, seeking the next door, but probe gently and tentatively. Features burst out of thin air as the contents of the world make themselves known to you, and even objects that would be almost inconsequential in more traditionally visual games somehow become wonderful. Staircases with gaps between the railings, crates with slightly raised planking, and other simple objects take on a great depth when splattered from the right angle. Amusingly enough, it's also worth considering where you throw your paint. It's funny that, unaware that you've been walking to a white wall for several seconds, you lob a paintball only for it to explode at point-blank range and turn your whole vision black. The Unfinished Swan is a modern maze game, but before it gets too settled, things are shaken up. The story unfolds a little, and shadows appear in the world. By contrast, the world is still very minimal, but their entry has a large impact on proceedings. For one, there's less need to liberally lob paint around as you see corners, but for another, there's a sense of loss. Now the world and its edges can be discerned, what are you pressing on for? Where has the neat little mechanic that wowed me at Gamescom gone? It seems the monochromatic world is merely the first of several that you and Monroe make your way through. In each the paintbrush takes on different qualities, each one enabling you to tackle that particular passage's troubles. Sadly, however, none prove as edifying as its first. I'll refrain from spoiling just what is in store for this modern day penny crayon, but it's fair to say that you should never become attached to any single theme. None are left to sit for so long that they become stale. Instead, the designers prefer to whip them away just as you warm to them. Though this may keep proceedings moving, again there are times when you're left feeling a little empty, knowing that you could have quite happily played with the previous concept for a good few minutes longer. Some fill gaps, but others are so large that they have the potential to be the focus of full games themselves.
The king was young, arrogant.
The tale that strings each chapter together is equally erratic, failing to add any meaningful coherency to proceedings. That said, the tale of Monroe is a light-hearted and sentimental one that is hard to scorn. The characters it introduces all could be in modern-day fairy tales and help set the playful tone and aesthetics for the world. Despite my misgivings over how the gameplay evolves, the game as a whole can be described as nothing but delightful. 3 hours with Unfinished Swan will not be regretted, as throughout it offers a mix of visual styles and concepts to keep you entertained. The structure is, in some respects, almost comparable to Portal, where different chambers, or in this case chapters, allow you to explore each toy before moving on to the next. Unlike Portal, however, you feel that much of what is on offer is only partially explored. It's not about budgets or production values. What you're asked to do is novel, engaging, and at times unique, but it also has the sense that it's never pushed beyond the obvious. Long into the game, I was still entertained with all the toys, but I always yearned for more time in that white room.
He decided to start over. One morning he painted a boat and set off to find the perfect spot. He told himself he'd come back someday to finish what he had started, but of course, he never did.